What's up, everybody? Peacemaker Season 2 has come to an end. Let's dive into episode 208 in the future of the DCU. The Season 2 finale got started with a flashback going back a month in time with Chris and Harcourt on a date at Big Belly Burger, which, one, that's a very fitting date spot for the two, but I love getting more of John Cena singing like a goof, mostly because I feel like this is something that James Gunn actually did to Jennifer Holland. I could totally see Gunn doing this. You've also got some South Park level trolling from Gunn here. Harcourt definitely be hosting events in the airport Hilton Ballroom. Shout out South Park and Cartman. But there was another thing here, and that was Harcourt talking to Peacemaker about being nicer to Vidge, and still Vidge got no love in the goodbye letter. That's tough. With that being said, we head back to the present and check in on Chris in prison. He's down bad, pulling himself away from the 11th Street kids and calling himself the Angel of Death. The fact that most people who he's been around in his life have suffered has simply broken him, and I wish this wasn't, the finale of the season so that this could have been an entire episode. Regardless, Argus is inside the cuck as Judo Master, Harcourt, and Langston Fleary are leading the search party. But it's not just Argus anymore, it's Argus and Luther Corps, with Happerseen being joined by an entire crew led by Otis. And I gotta say, Otis was the one that I was happiest to see return, but man, these cameos, they were not it. At first, though, I thought we got a massive cameo in the form of Mercy Graves when Otis appeared with this chick, but I was wrong. Economos and Flag Sr. both drop her name later in this episode, McCoy, which would make her one Amanda McCoy, a LexCorp scientist from the comics, and she could potentially lead to a team up between Superman and the Cape Crusader, all because of a little kryptonite ring. But shifting back to the cuck, there was only one door that was open that had a name, Door 22. It reminds me of the game Candyland, and of course, the Yellow Brick Road, but it turns out it's the fifth dimension. At least I think it is, because the agents are attacked by imps in this dimension. This was also the scene where I finally accepted that I was wrong. Fleary isn't Martian Manhunter. It was a fun theory while it lasted, but he straight up sacrifices Klein, the Argus agent. That ain't John Jones. Anyways, back on Earth, Ads goes to check in on Vidge, who's dealing with Peacemaker's arrest by grinding Princess Peach's Showtime and going off on his mom. He's truly one of a kind too, because only this Adrian Chase could curse himself with the mental image of his mom and Ads just going at it. The few scenes we got at Adrian's mom's house were just incredible. It was the best bit of the season. But it turned into a truly incredible scene between Ads and Vidge amidst the comedy. That's where Gunn thrives, and he went to it quite a bit here in the finale, especially with Danielle Brooks, which was great. They use all the drug money, Vidge's blood money as he calls it, to get Peacemaker out of prison, only for Chris to grab Eagly and some of his stuff and get out of town. Then Luther Corp's involvement with Argus continues to grow as Otis seems to basically be in charge of things at this base. He still brings Flag, the reports and everything, but as long as a general gets what he wants, nothing else really matters. All that while the agents are inside the cuck going door to door like Jehovah Witnesses, Flag has officially lost his way. This did give us an opportunity to see more of Sasha Bordeaux's cybernetic capabilities, though, as she saves a couple agents in a zombie dimension. It's not much, but I'm taking all the crumbs I can get there, and I think we'll be getting a lot more of Sol Rodriguez in the DCU after this finale. Get ready, Eddie Gathegi. Flag is all in on this, though, as he presents his planet prison, which he calls Salvation, to the Secretary of Defense, much like Lex Luthor presented Planet Watch in Superman, and we're going to talk about that more at the end of the breakdown. Salvation, that is. For now, we got an Arkham name drop, which, like Sasha, is just crumbs, but it's nice to know that, that and Bell Rev are the metahuman facilities in the DCU. Basically, Flag won this battle, but he lost the war, losing himself and the girl as Sasha's done with him. She calls Harcourt to Big Belly Burger after his meeting with the Secretary of Defense, the same one that we saw in the flashback of this episode, the Big Belly Burger, and tells her everything about Salvation. This scene also set up the end of this episode as Gunn looks to loosely adapt her rise to the Black Queen of Checkmate. Then we go back to the flashback one more time after Harcourt finds the concert ticket, which I can only assume Peacemaker put in her bathroom mirror. I gotta be honest here, this was underwhelming considering all the drama between the lovers in this season. Like, it was all over just a kiss. I get that Amelia rejects all of her emotions, but this was a rare emotional miss from James Gunn. There was a really strange cut out of that portion of the episode and into this one too, going from the birth of Checkmate to what ended up being a great scene between Ads and her wife. Daniel Brooks getting an abundance of these emotional scenes with at least one in basically every episode, if I can remember right, ended up being one of my favorite parts of season 2. But the 11th Street kids decide they need to go get their guy, that they need to be whole again, so they find Peacemaker at the motel, only for Vidge to come in and deck his best friend before he tases him. It was another chaotic start to what turned into an incredible Daniel Brooks led scene. She was low key the MVP of not only the finale, but all of season 2. Ads gets through to Peacemaker's heart, all of them do, for that matter, and he's all the way back after getting his answer from Harcourt. So reunited and reinforced with Sasha Bordeaux, Judo Master, and Langston Fleary joining the gang, the 11th Street Kids start their own operation, Checkmate. You've got the dynamic duo of Vidge and Langston Fleary, and we got a mini Foxy Shazam concert with the intro song making its way into the finale. The season closed with Peacemaker being taken by Argus and the Broken Rick Flag Sr. He gets his revenge. He's using Peacemaker as a test subject for his new dimension, his new prison, stranding him on Salvation, and according to James Gunn, this is going to take us directly into Man of Tomorrow, James Gunn's Superman sequel that isn't really a sequel, but it kind of is. I gotta say, the final 2 episodes of this season really didn't feel like the end of a season to me. Both were still fine episodes, especially episode 7. That was a good episode, and maybe it's just me being impatient. I just don't like them as a conclusion. Also, and this is 100% on James Gunn, he teased the massive cameos. All the DCU connections were massively underwhelming. It was all just Lex's goons and that's it. At the end of the day, it was still a good season, but season 1 was much better, and this was far from Gunn's best work. Then before I wrap things up, I want to talk about Man of Tomorrow and Earth X just real quick, both of which feel important to the future of the DCU. Starting with Man of Tomorrow, the movie that's going to see Superman and Lex Luthor team up. I think Supes is going to catch wind of Salvation, and that's going to set everything in motion, whether that starts with the Boy Scout working with Checkmate or something else, we'll see. It's very possible that Sasha Bordeaux is a very important figure in Checkmate and is the one to get him involved. She's been romantically involved with Mr. Terrific in the comics, and so maybe we get a bit of that in Man of Tomorrow, and she calls on the Justice Gang to help stop Flag and Lex, which would undoubtedly lead to Terrific calling in Superman. I think this movie is going to be massive. Superman could make Lex take him to Salvation, and we could see the reluctant team up come when they meet the creatures of that dimension while searching for Peacemaker, or who knows, maybe they're just maybe they're exploring. We heard those creatures after the portal shut in the finale, and they sounded a hell of a lot like dinosaurs to me, lining up perfectly with one of James Gunn's most recent interviews. Gunn mentioned that JLA's Salvation run was the inspiration behind this and a ton of the future for the DCU, and in that run, there's a planet being used as a prison that's a mechanical planet filled with killer bees. It's also connected to Desaad, Darkseid's main guy, so it does look like a New Genesis and Apocalypse will be a part of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Maybe Man of Tomorrow is that event on a smaller scale, or maybe Gunn is building to Dark Crisis, which is part of that run, and I think I might just have to make a separate video about those possibilities. Finally, I've just got one quick prediction about Earth X. In the post-episode interviews, David Dedman, who played Keith, says everything that happened to Keith 2 this season was basically a supervillain origin story. He said it like a man who knows he's coming back, and even though Gunn said he doesn't have plans for Peacemaker Season 3, I don't think we've seen the last of Captain Triumph. I expect Earth X to come back into play in the DCU. Then I know I said that was the last thing, but since I mentioned no Peacemaker Season 3, and James Gunn has said that the main crew will be back soon in the DCU, I think we're going to see Checkmate in Creature Commando Season 2, not Man of Tomorrow. Something like Argus sends the Commandos to Salvation, and Checkmate, aka the 11th Street Kids, are going to follow them over there looking for Peacemaker. And so that's going to do it for my Peacemaker 208 breakdown. Despite my issues with the final 2 episodes, I can't wait to see where this leads in the DCU, and still, it was a solid season. But I want to know what you guys thought about this finale and the entire season, so let me know down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.